Welcome to PP Knowledge Hub. Last class we started the age of revolution in between 1830 to 1848 and we already learned two important revolutions, July Revolution and Greek War of Independence. Today we will study in 1848 the revolution led by liberals. So today is our topic 1848 the revolution of the liberals. In 1848 the revolution was led by the educated middle classes. So who led the revolution in 1848? Educated middle classes. In many parts of Europe such as Germany, Italy, Poland and the Austro-Hungarian Empire didn't become nation state. So the main demand of the liberal nationalists are creation of nation state on parliamentarian principle. So what are the main demands of the liberal nationalists? Their main demand was creation of nation state, creation of nation state on parliamentarian principle, and they demanded a constitution, freedom of press and freedom of association. So these are the main demands of the liberals. So I already told you in 1848 the revolution was led by the educated middle class. So what were the main demands of this educated middle class or liberals? Their main demand was the creation of nation state, based on parliamentarian principle, a constitution, freedom of press and freedom of association. So these are the main demands of liberals. Our next topic is about Frankfurt Parliament. It was an all-German National Assembly formed by middle class. So what was Frankfurt Parliament? It was an all-German National Assembly formed by middle class such as professionals, businessmen and prosperous artisans belong to the different German region. So what was Frankfurt Parliament? It was an all-German National Assembly formed by middle class such as professionals, businessmen and prosperous artisans belongs to the different German region. On 18th May 1848, 831 elected representatives, they marched in a festive procession to take their place in Frankfurt Parliament. So which date I told? 18th May 1848. How many elected representatives? 831 elected representatives. They marched in a festive procession to take their places in the Frankfurt Parliament. Anyway, this parliament was convened in the church of St. Paul. So where the parliament was convened? Parliament was convened in the church of St. Paul, St. Paul, and they drafted a constitution for German nation, and in the parliament drafted a constitution for German nation to be headed by monarchy. So the constitution was drafted, but who will be the head? Head will be king. The crown was offered to Frederick William IV, the king of Prussia, but what happened? He rejected it and joined with the other monarchs to oppose the elected assembly. So what happened? He rejected the crown and he joined with the other monarch to oppose the elected assembly. Anyway, the opposition of aristocracy and monarchy, it became stronger. So the social base of the parliament lost. So the social base of the parliament was lost and the parliament was dominated by middle classes. And they neglected the demands of workers and artisans. Consequently, the parliament lost their support. The parliament supported by artisans and workers. But what happened? The parliament dominated by middle classes and they neglected the demands of these workers and the artisans. So they withdrew their support from the parliament. So what happened? The parliament lost their support and the assembly was forced to disband. So what are the main points of Frankfurt Parliament? It was an all-German National Assembly formed by middle-class professionals, businessmen and prosperous artisans belongs to different German region. On 18th May 1848, 831 elected representatives, they marched in a festive procession to take their places in the Frankfurt Parliament. Parliament was convened in the Church of St. Paul, and they drafted a constitution for German nation to be headed by monarchy, and the crown was offered to whom? Frederick William IV, the King of Prussia. But what happened? He rejected the crown and he joined with the other monarch to oppose the elected assembly. After that, what happened? The opposition of aristocracy and monarchy became stronger. Monarchy and aristocracy, they opposed the elected parliament or the Frankfurt Parliament. So what happened? The social basis of the parliament lost, and the parliament was dominated by middle classes, and they neglected the demands of workers and artisans. Consequently, the parliament lost their support, so the assembly was forced to disband. Anyway, the Frankfurt Parliament became failure. The Frankfurt Parliament became failure, and the conservative forces able to suppress the liberal movement in 1848. The conservative forces, they suppressed the liberal movement in 1848, but the monarch understood that they can no longer suppress the liberals. They can no longer suppress the liberals, and the revolutions only be ended by granting concession to the liberal nationalist revolutionaries. Anyway, the Frankfurt Parliament became failure, but this parliament had two advantages. Let us discuss which are the two advantages of Frankfurt Parliament. First one, serfdom and bonded labor were abolished both in Habsburg and Russia. So first one, serfdom and bonded labor were abolished both in Habsburg and Russia. Second one, Habsburg rulers granted more autonomy to the Hungarians in 1867. Habsburg rulers granted more autonomy to the Hungarians in 1867. So what I told, the Frankfurt Parliament became failure. The conservative forces, they were able to suppress the liberal movement in 1848. But two advantages are there. This parliament, or anyway the parliament made, I told, no. So the parliament had two advantages. That two advantages are, first one, serfdom and bonded labor was abolished both in Habsburg and Russia. Second one, Habsburg rulers granted more autonomy to the Hungarian in 1867. So this much only about Frankfurt Parliament. So everybody have to study. Two questions will come from this topic. One is the revolution, 1848 revolution of the liberals. That is one question answer, and about Frankfurt Parliament also will ask. Our next topic is role of women in liberal movement. How women participated in the liberal movement. So large number of women had participated actively over the years. Large number of women had participated actively over the years, and women, they had formed their political association. They formed many political association. They founded newspapers, and they taken part in political meetings and demonstration. So the role of women, they mainly large number of women actively participated in the liberal movement, and they formed many political association. They founded newspapers, and they taken part in political meetings and demonstration. But they denied the suffrage right during the election of the assembly. So I already told you, Frankfurt Parliament, many representatives were elected, but the women, they were not allowed to write in the assembly. When the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the Church St. Paul, they were only the observers. They were only the observers, and to stand in the visitors gallery. They were only the observers to stand in the visitors gallery. So what I told about the role of women in liberal movement, large number of women had actively participated in the liberal movement. They formed many political associations. They founded newspapers. They taken part in political meetings and demonstration, but they were not allowed to right to suffrage during the election of assembly. And when the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the Church of St. Paul, they were only observers, and they stand in the visitors gallery. Today we mainly studied about the revolution of liberals in 1848, and we studied Frankfurt Parliament and the role of women in the liberal movement. I think today's topic is clear to you. If you understood my class, please like, share and subscribe. For getting new notification, click the bell icon and press the all button. We will meet in the next class.